morning, everybody. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. Lori, how are you?
I'm without a voice today.
You are without a voice today.
Yeah, most people would be very happy about that.
I'm sure some would be. So I don't want to make you talk too much today. But I just want to say, congratulations on the Tech 10 award. Congratulations all around. It's been a big week for Visual Thrive and for Shop Local Rhode Island. So congratulations on all of that.
Well, I do have to say, you've been a big part of that. So thank you as well.
You are welcome. You are too
I
kind.
have
All right.
type questions for you.
Yes, please type away your questions, and Lori will just not be talking as much as possible today. So today we are very, very happy to be joined by someone that we had actually on the Local Look a couple weeks ago as a part of a panel to promote Small Business Saturday, and that was wonderful, and I can't wait to have a longer form interview with her now. Sue Babin is the Special Projects Coordinator at the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. And Sue, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, thank you so much, Ben and Lori, for having us on, having me on the show today. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you being here. So tell us a little bit about what you do at RIDDC.
Okay. I work as a special projects coordinator for the Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council. We are a statewide advocacy agency that provides information and support to people with developmental disabilities and their families. We're nationally funded. Every state has a developmental disabilities council, so we represent Rhode Island. I've been working there for 11 years. Prior to that, I worked for the state, the Department of Behavioral Health, in the Developmental Disabilities Unit, and so I was there for 32 years. I was an administrator and oversaw the Office of Quality Assurance and Special Projects. And that's where I started to get involved with employment and an interest in assisting people with disabilities in being able to access the workforce.
Awesome. Very cool. And hold on, let me open the private chat because I got to be both of us today. How do families and individuals know about the work of the RIDDC, and how to find you? Sorry.
You.
Yes.
Yeah, and how can they find you?
A lot of families are always looking for information, especially families of individuals that are transitioning out of high school and entering the adult service system in Rhode Island. And it can be very confusing for people in terms of what is a family member eligible for, where do they go, what kinds of supports, who are the community agencies. And so that's our role, to be an advocate, to kind of publicize information that's out there. We have a very active website, Facebook page. We try and stay in the news locally with information. We have a couple of committees of the council. That one of the committees of the council works on policies and laws that are potentially going to be passed up at the State House. So families have an input on that. I work on the Systems Advocacy Committee, which is involved with thinking about what are the gaps in services? What are the things that if we were in charge of a system and could make some change, what would we want to do that would benefit people with disabilities? So we have a couple of different committees. We also we're required by the federal government to put together a 5-year plan. And the 5-year plan lays out our goals and objectives for 5 years. We put that plan together by getting a lot of community input. So last fall we ran, and early this year, we ran a variety of different focus groups throughout the state, asking individuals and families about what are your needs? What are, where are the support, what kinds of supports do you need that you're not getting now? And if you were in charge of the system in Rhode Island, what would you do? So we put information out there to people that way. And we participate ourselves in lots of different committees around the state, both things that happen within state agencies as well as work collaboratively with community providers and other advocacy agencies in the state.
What are
However,
the
even though we do all of that, and I'm sure this is true with you guys, isn't it amazing how people don't know what you do?
Yep.
Right? And when bad stuff happens, everybody always seems to find that out. But when things go on that are really good, it doesn't, the news doesn't seem to get out there as well. So we could always do better with publicizing information about the council and the activities that we're involved with.
What are the needs and supports that came up during those conversations?
Well, housing comes up for people. Individuals with disabilities have limited incomes, and they, like anybody else, when they hit their 20s, they kind of want to move on and move into their own apartments. And it becomes difficult for people to find affordable, safe housing. So that's a big issue on our agenda for the next 5 years, trying to come up with creative housing strategies. Employment has always been one of the things that people talk about, because I think lots of times what happens with community employers is they have some myths in their head about people with disabilities, and maybe because their interaction with folks has been limited, they don't understand the potential and the great resource that people can bring to a particular job. So people struggle with going on interviews and not getting callbacks. And it makes people really frustrated that
Of course, yeah.
individuals are not giving them a shot at employment. So employment is another area
Right.
for people. Family support, being able to connect with other family members and kind of learn the ropes. What are the questions that I need to ask? Who can help me along the way? Those are some of the areas. Policy development is, with all of the money coming into the state from the federal government because of COVID-19, how does that relate to people with disabilities and their families? So those are some of the areas that we have identified through those focus groups.
Does the RIDDC prepare policy?
We have people that we collaborate with on our policy advisory committee. It's a broad representation within that group. And so what the group does is there's a person that's kind of the liaison. And what he does is monitor any legislation that's being introduced up at the State House. And once that legislation is being even thought of or introduced, then the committee kind of analyzes what's the potential impact of that, and they then make a determination whether or not we want to support the legislation and write a white paper or go up and testify. If it's testifying, we advocate for individuals and families to go and testify, because it's always better coming from the people that receive the services and supports for them to speak out rather than someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Lori, you sound like you want to say something.
I always want to say something. I guess I was thinking about just the Small Business Saturday and how great it was. I don't know if you could talk a little bit about the successes there.
Okay. Yeah, we started that about 5 years ago because there were a number of families that had approached me at the council and basically said, my family member wants to start a business, and how can we help to publicize what they're selling so that they can make some money? And we collaborated with the Center for Women in Enterprise and the Veterans Business Outreach Center and Small Business Administration to kind of brainstorm, what could we do? And we found out at that point about American Express's initiative that they developed 11 years ago. I think it was in 2010, to focus attention on creating this national day of Small Business Saturday, and to get state governments and people from the general community to go out and shop small on that day. And so what Rhode Island had been doing, our governor, previous governors, had been going around the state in different locales, Westerly, Wickford, different areas throughout the Newport, throughout the state, and highlighted what they were doing. And so we came up with an idea. Hey, wait a minute. What about if we rented out a hotel and we created space for small business vendors and entrepreneurs to be able to sell their products to the general public? We publicized it as a pop-up shopping experience on Small Business Saturday. So we became a community champion of American Express, along with a variety of other states around the country. But we were the first state to even let American Express know, here's what we want to do, create this pop-up mall. They were really excited about that because they told us, hey, nobody's ever thought of that. That's really innovative. And what that did for the general public is it created a one-stop shopping environment. So instead of traveling to Wickford, to Westerly, to Newport, to Woonsocket, all over the state, you could go to one location, and we had that diverse representation. So in our first year, 5 years ago, we had 94 vendors. And we had almost 2,000 customers come through that day. The thing that I really appreciate and am really proud about is the fact that we integrated businesses that included people with disabilities within those 94 businesses. So I think I had 12 that first year. I'm not really sure. We also had veterans. We also had other individuals that were minorities and really represented the other cultures throughout our state. So when people came in to the Crown Plaza, they didn't see someone as an individual with a disability. What they saw was an individual who was a business owner. And so that made me really, really proud of our role in that process, because that's one of the things that we try to do as a DD council, is to get the public to see people with disabilities as more like everybody else than different. So that was our first year. This year was, and then year after year, the event has grown. In 2019, that was our first year that we were totally sold out. That was right before COVID. This year, we were like really sold out. We had over 165 vendors actually sign up for that day. We had 26 businesses that were people with disabilities, and we had an amazing crowd. Well over 3,000 people came. The traffic was busy throughout the day. The vendors did incredibly well, with average sales being, I want to approximate about anywhere from $800 to about $1,500 was average sales throughout the day, with one of our vendors making, grab this, $6,890. And guess what? That was a vendor who's a mother and son who happens to have a disability. And they were my high vendor in 2019. They made $5,500. So I am like, that's like so fabulous that that this particular business, to make that much money in one day, is absolutely incredible. I think, what we saw that day was the general public really excited to get out there and shop. A lot of people came in wearing masks. We practiced, social distancing. We had sanitizers available for people, but just to be able to interact with the business vendors, they were so excited about having all of that traffic there. We had the Lieutenant Governor come through. We had Stephen Pryor from Department of Commerce. We had a couple of legislators. We had people from state agencies. Of course, all of these vendors helped us with our marketing and getting the word out to people that were their customers. And I just have a tremendous marketing person, Deb Moraes, who has historically from day one done an amazing job to get us in the news and to be able to help us to publicize the message of why is it important to shop small. So it was a clearly an incredible day. We had a lot of people actually even come through that said, how do I get to be a vendor? When can I sign up for next year? So I need a bigger boat. I don't know what I'm going to do here. We want to keep the venue as quality vendors. And so our show is almost juried, where people have to submit an application. They have to submit photos of their items, and our committee basically takes a look at what those items are. So, I mean, and we did an evaluation form that day I already have a 90% return rate, which is like incredible that you get that. And 90% out of 90% said that they want to be back next year.
Where was the where are the vendors from, like in general, when they're at this event? Like, where in Rhode Island is it? Are the 126 vendors, are they from all over the place? Are they from the specific, area where the event takes place? How far out does that go?
Ben, back in 2017, we made a really conscious effort to kind of look at different local magazines in Rhode Island and Providence Business News, and to stay on top of the Shop Local newspaper. I mean, all of those little newspapers that were out there, to seek out vendors that were in different areas throughout the state. So I can tell you that we had vendors from every regionalized area throughout the state of Rhode Island. So just like we want to diversify in terms of the background of the individual vendors, we also want to diversify in terms of where people's location for their businesses are. So a lot of the small businesses that came to our event also have storefronts. And they said, you guys are going to be able to attract more business for us on this particular day. So we're going to set up in your space. We're going to keep our shop open, but we're going to set up in your space as well, because we think we're going to do better. And they did. So many of the vendors actually wrote on the form and called or sent me texts saying, this is the best business day I've had ever in my life. I mean,
amazing.
How cool is that? It wasn't just one person that said that. I have that from at least 20 of them that took the time to send me a personal note saying, thank you so much, Sue. You and your team were totally amazing. This is the best financial day that we've ever had. I mean, you can't get better than that, really.
I'm wondering if the answer isn't necessarily, like, just as a thought experiment, and this is going to make you want to pull your hair out and hit me, I think.
Uh-oh.
But isn't, like, maybe not like moving to the convention center or something, but like having two separate events at the same exact time, the same day, like one north, one south, like that because that could expand the accessibility for the customers.
Oh my God, what am I doing here? Well, I think that, it's.
By the way, that's fine. I've been playing with my shirt all show.
There was a lot of competition that day I think there was a lot of attention in trying to get the public to come out and shop small on that day.
Yep.
So anything that happened in the state is awesome for businesses. Some of the vendors said to us, why don't you guys do something in the spring as well? And our committee is going to contemplate that. Other people said, why don't you do this 2 days? Well, if you organize events, you know how much time and effort goes into that, because not everybody can get out on a Saturday.
Right.
And so, again, our committee, when we meet in late January or early January, we will kind of give some thought to that, whether or not that makes any sense. And again, I want everybody to see this event as a quality event. We don't want to close people out.
Yep.
And quite honestly, we rented every single room at the Crowne Plaza. So I can't go any bigger there.
Yeah.
And the tent that they have outside, it's hard to predict what the weather will be, because that's another option. If any vendor wanted to go outside under the white tent, we could have done that.
Yep.
But you never know. And the general public also doesn't like to walk. People like convenience. They want to get out of their car. They don't want to walk too far, So I think that it's a good question. So we're going to give some consideration to that. There is another venue not going to say what it is that's bigger, but the cost was a whole lot more than what we don't, by the way, we don't make any money on this.
Yeah.
We only charge vendors $55 a table, which essentially covers the cost for us of rent, almost covers the cost of renting the Crown Plaza. So it's not something that we're doing to make money. It's something that we're doing to promote all businesses, including people with disabilities.
Sue, sorry, that was the top question at the booth that I was at, and it was, how do I get involved in this event? I want to be here. It was really, the energy was amazing there. So Ben, sorry.
Yeah. I think that maybe if expanding is difficult, and also the accessibility issue of wanting it to be available for other people, I think that like some of the I've done a lot of like hybrid events with like church bazaars and stuff recently, and fundraisers for other things. If you can create some sort of a system where there's like QR codes at the venue.
Yes.
And you have a system, like, maybe, I don't know, maybe Lori can help with this with Shop Local, but you have a system where you have vendors that all of the 126 vendors that are there in person, and I might be getting that number wrong, I'm sorry. But all of the vendors that are there in person have an opportunity to also upload a certain amount of items so now you have, like, for this weekend, this Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday weekend, you have the option of any vendor that couldn't get on in the physical location can pay a smaller thing to get on the website version of it. The people that are there can also be on the website version of it, and you can extend that through the weekend. And that's a way to include more people, and the people that can't physically get there on Saturday still have an opportunity to browse everybody that was involved in it.
Yeah, we had a QR code there that day, and we do have a website that lists all of the vendors. So with their information, like their Facebook page or their website or Instagram or Etsy or whatever that they have. But that is a good idea about including other people. However, I don't want to replicate. I think that's what Shop Local Rhode Island does best. So I'd rather figure out, how do we get our people onto your site so that you kind of be the host for that particular venue. We do have a booklet that's on our website, RIDDC.org, that promotes the businesses of people with disabilities. And we're promoting that nationally, which is important to our mission out there. But, so many of these vendors, that's just one day. And what people really need is assistance with marketing. Because, some of these small businesses, people couldn't even leave their booth that day to go to the bathroom. That's because they don't have anybody that works for them, and they couldn't get someone to go with them on that particular day. So, what we're another thing that we do is we run some small business classes, a series of 8 business classes that are always open to any of our vendors. And we've had vendors go through those classes. The 2 classes that people are most interested in, how do I write a business plan? And number 2, how do I market this business and utilize social media to really maximize my potential to attract customers?
Yeah.
But what we're thinking about with the QR codes for next year, because some people came in and said, where do I find Fulcrum stained glass? Where do I find Rhode Island Books and Games? And so we're going to have a QR code that people will be able to pull up on their phone or whatever, and be able to see what room or what area that particular business is located in. We did have a directory a number of years ago, but it was like 15 pages long. And that's too much for shoppers to kind of go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Lori has sent another suggestion in the chat. I'm sorry, what did you say, Lori? No, don't repeat it. you, Ben, could do live interviews, shop online or in person. Yeah, we can set that up, Sue. Next time, if you do something in the spring or next year, I'm happy to do a live marathon of just a live stream of putting people, directing people towards the Small Business Saturday. I love that.
Yeah, I
Um,
think, doing podcasts and short little snippets. We were in 20 and last year we did a virtual event,
yep,
and we were fortunate enough to have people from the road show agree to help us to promote a number of businesses. And we also had Steve Cass do some podcasts on, I think we did about 20 different vendors. And they were really short. They were like less than 5 minutes, where the person just got on, talked about their business, what they have, showed some products. Those little snippets that people can then take and put on their own website prior to the event, because that's the key. I think getting the word out prior to the event, as
yep.
opposed to maybe the morning of the event is good, but in the afternoon, at that point, who's looking on Facebook really and going to get in their car and then drive? I think you need to know about it earlier in the week. So those are some things, again, that we're thinking about that will make some sense.
Absolutely. I would just like to once again say that Lori said star star, no need to say anything I type dot 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 smiley face. Lori, you didn't think that you were going to come in with laryngitis and I wasn't going to make fun of you for the majority of the show, right?
Oh,
Like,
I'm really sorry. It's so
It's
hard
nice, too.
because I love the work that Sue is doing so much. And I think that's why we want to do this long form interview. But I think we maybe in the new year, we should start out by saying, like, let's do kind of a marketing brainstorm live where people can give questions in advance, and we can really, I mean, Ben has a marketing organization, I have a and we have this online video in-person capacity. So it's really, it can be done.
yeah.
A good time to maybe think about something to do would definitely be January, before Valentine's Day rolls along, because that's the next thing that these vendors all kind of push for. What are the
Yep.
major events that are going on that they can utilize to help push what it is that they have for sale? So maybe we could think about, some sort of a short 45-minute collaborative thing that we could do through a Zoom presentation to give them tips for using social media, or, whatever the case may be, in, the second week of January, something like that.
So I've already been working on something. I'll email you guys after the show.
Awesome.
So anyway, Lori, it's been about a half hour, so I'm gonna let you go back to sipping your tea and resting your voice, and please don't take too many meetings today.
I'm trying.
Okay. And Sue, where can people find out more information about you and the organization, and get help that they need and anything like that?
So our website is www.riddc.org. And you can find me through the website. Our office number is 401-737-1238. We also have a Facebook page, Rhode Island Developmental Disabilities Council.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we will talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. And goodbye, Lori. I'll close out the show. Thank you guys so much. Sue Babin is amazing as always. Please check out them at riddc.org. And please, if you are looking for gifts this holiday season, my push last week, and I'd like to just reiterate it again. If you can just buy one of your presents locally, right? Now, obviously, this show is sponsored by Shop Local Rhode Island. It is Business Over Breakfast, brought to you by that. So that's a wonderful resource online. But this is about helping your community. So if you go on there and you find something that's amazing, there's a ton of wonderful things on there. There's a ton of wonderful vendors. Go out into your local community and buy something online. Go out into your local community and buy something local in person. Whatever it is, the goal is helping your local economy. And by local economy, I mean it sounds like something that is like out there and bigger and foreign, and it's a word that you hear politicians throw around, and but it's about helping friends and neighbors and the people in your community that are there when you need them, and provide jobs and provide uniforms for your local little league team, and fundraisers for when people get sick and when nonprofits need help. That's what a local business community really is. It's not this esoteric word economy that people throw around, and the general population just kind of assumes that we know what it means. Like who honestly, who cares about that? Let's talk about personal relationships and how this affects your community. And that's why it's so important, and that's why the work that Sue does is so important, and that's why the work that Shop Local and Lori and Scott do are so important. And as an outsider to both of those things, I just say I'm a huge fan of both of those organizations, and I think that it's wonderful. So if you know a small business that would need help getting online and could use that extra reach, tell them to reach out to Shop Local Rhode Island, because it's an incredibly affordable way to create an online footprint for yourself that you would never be able to do for 1/100th of the price to create your own online e-commerce store. And it's fantastic. It's run by Lori and Scott, who also own a marketing agency. They're going to help people find your products. And if you're shopping, check out there. It's all the convenience and none of the guilt of the big box stores and the Amazons of the world. So that's it for me. And Lori, on behalf of Lori, who poor thing lost her voice this week, probably all that partying for winning the Tech 10 award. I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm just assuming. So thank you once again to Sue and Shop Local, and have a great holiday season, everybody. We'll see you next week.